The Toyota Fortuner has been one of India's most loved SUVs in the last decade. It first went on sale in the country in 2009, and it was in 2016 that the Japanese carmaker presented the SUV in a brand new generation, surprising many with the design and features it came with.
More than 4 years later, the Fortuner has finally seen one more upgrade. The facelift of the SUV has now arrived on our shores, and it comes with quite a few changes. Along with it also comes a sportier looking Legender variant. So have all the changes enhanced the appeal of this big daddy of SUVs? Let's try and find out.
The change in design isn't as drastic or dramatic as it was in the new generation when compared to the previous gen. However, there's a lot that is new. But before that, let me remind you of the dimensions of the Fortuner. It is 4,795mm long, 1,855mm wide and almost as tall, and its wheelbase is 2,745mm. So yes, it's still just as massive as before.
Lot of changes on the face. The most obvious one is the grille, much bigger than before and looks quite different. On the other hand, the LED projector headlamps are sleeker, but they get LED DRLs now. The bumper also has changed, and the fog lamps also have become smaller than before. The skid plates are silver in color, which wasn't the case earlier. And finally, the sparkling black crystal shine color also is a new entrant to the list of color options.
On the profile, the big highlight is the new alloy wheel design that certainly appeals more than before. The 4-wheel drive variants get 18-inch wheels, while the 2-wheel drive ones get one size lower. On the rear, nothing much changes apart from the new LED tail lamps. If you go in for the top of the line Legender variant, what's on offer is an even more aggressive grille, a taller bumper, new quad LED headlamps, sequential turn indicators, a different alloy design and dual tone roof. With this facelift, Toyota is trying to keep up with the more feature-rich cabins of rivals like the Ford Endeavour and the MG Gloster. So let's start with those features which the Fortuner gets for the first time.
Both the front seats are now ventilated, and you can adjust both of them electronically. And the good thing is that this is a standard feature on all the variants of the car. The 8-inch smart Playcast touchscreen audio is also new. It's responsive, but maybe the interface could have been a little more attractive. Could have been bigger, maybe yes, looking at the overall size of the cabin. But the good thing is that it now comes with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility. The Fortuner also is now a connected car, which means you have access to features like geofencing, real-time tracking, and last park location, etc. And finally, this all-black cabin you see here is also a new addition to this SUV.
There's a premium 11-speaker JBL sound system, which is strangely available only with the 4-wheel drive variants, while features like a wireless charger, ambient lighting and a dual-tone black and maroon upholstery are being offered just with the Legender.
No captain seats on the second row, but these are fairly big seats, so you get the kind of comfort you're looking for. Overall, there's a good sense of space here on the second row of the Fortuner. All the 3 headrests are adjustable. All the 3 passengers get 3-point seat belts, so that is good. You also have a center armrest here, roof-mounted AC vents, and ISOFIX child seat mounts are a standard feature on the car. No sunroof, could be a downer for some of you, and no USB charging point as well. So you do get a 12-volt charging socket here.
It is the Legender that exclusively gets a USB port on the second row, and that is quite a miss on other variants. The access to the third row is fairly easy owing to the fact that the second row seats recline, tumble and slide forward. However, sitting here for long distances could prove to be a bit uneasy, especially for adults. The electric tailgate and its memory function is a handy feature, while the Legender also gets a kick sensor to open the hatch. The Fortuner has been one of those few cars that has had comfort at the center, may it be occupants or the driver. First, let's talk about the drivability. Yes, this is a facelift, but the changes go just beyond design elements and features.
This 2.8-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine now makes more power than before, and more importantly, also gives you more torque. So in all, you get more than 200 brake horsepower, and on the manual, you get a peak torque of 420 Newton meters that kicks in fairly early at 1400 RPM. On the automatic that I'm driving right now, it's even better. You get a peak torque of 500 Newton meters that stays with you between 1600 and 2800 RPM, and that's really helpful for a car that weighs more than 2600 kilograms.
According to Toyota, this change has also resulted in improved fuel efficiency. It only helps in that respect that the 6-speed automatic gets an idling start-stop system. This diesel engine continues to be offered with both automatic and manual transmissions, and both get 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive options. The Legender gets just a diesel 2-wheel drive automatic variant. The 2.7-litre 4-cylinder petrol, on the other hand, is being offered with both manual and automatic gearbox options, but there's no 4-wheel drive here. On this engine, you get a much lesser 164 brake horsepower and 245 Newton meters at 4000 RPM. So yes, there's a lot to choose from when it comes to drivetrain options.
This diesel engine along with the automatic gearbox definitely feels more refined than before. The torque delivery is more linear, you can feel that, and even the gear changes are quick and smooth. Now this car is built to take on the difficult terrains, the uneven roads, and that job it does pretty well. The body on frame chassis, the suspension setup work well for our conditions that we face every day. The only drawback that I feel is this variable flow control steering wheel. It feels a bit light in certain situations, not as engaging, and some of you may not like that.
The drive modes come in handy here, and amongst other things, they somewhat change the steering dynamics. In all, there are now 3 modes to choose from in the diesel: Eco, Normal and Sport. If you cannot do your overtaking moves in normal mode, the Sport will help you do it. The Eco is strictly for city traffic, and don't expect anything but better fuel efficiency here. The petrol gets 2 drive modes called Eco and Power, like earlier.
Toyota has tried to make your drive in the Fortuner a little more reassuring, especially when you are off the road. So for better grip on slippery surfaces, you get Auto Limited Slip Differential or LSD. This guarantees you more power without breaking traction. And then you also get a lockable differential, which means getting out of extreme situations would be a little more easier now with the car.
The 4x4 variants also get high and low range along with downhill assist control. The SUV gets an approach angle of 29 degrees and a departure angle of 25 degrees. The small off-road patch helped me realize some of that potential, but it surely promises to do much more. The list of safety features is fairly long: vehicle stability control, hill assist control, rear parking camera, ABS with EBD and 7 airbags are all standard. The SUV now also gets a front clearance sonar feature to help you park better in tight spaces. And it has also scored a full 5-star test rating in ASEAN NCAP crash tests. Now to the prices. The petrol variants are the most affordable of the lot, starting at 29,98,000 rupees, while the diesel range starts at 32,48,000 rupees ex-showroom. The 4-wheel drive models are priced from 35,14,000 rupees, while the most expensive of the lot is the Legender at 37,58,000 rupees. In comparison, the MG Gloster that comes with just a diesel engine is priced between 29.98 lakh and 35.58 lakh rupees. The Ford Endeavour's 2-wheel drive variants start at 29.99 lakh rupees, while the 4-wheel drive is priced at 34.8 lakh rupees, but there's no manual here. Finally, the Mahindra Alturas G4 is priced between 28,73,000 rupees and 31,73,000 rupees. That means all these SUVs are cheaper than the Fortuner and also offer a slightly longer feature list.
But the Fortuner's road presence is hard to beat, and that reflects in the fact that this one has been a segment leader for long. Specifically, this facelift feels then more than just a mere facelift, and if the number of bookings the car has already received is anything to go by, that order is not going to change anytime soon.
Google at its annual developer conference Google I/O announced a slew of updates for its services and computing platforms. This included the new version of Android, Android 12. Google announced the platform is now being used by over 3 billion active users, and Android Auto alone has 100 million plus users. Android 12 of course will have its share of updates for Android Auto and Android Automotive. Here's all that was announced. To begin with, Google highlighted 15 OEM partners who would be bringing wireless Android Auto to a vast majority of their cars. These include brands like General Motors, Volkswagen, Stellantis, BMW, Ford, and even Honda. Following Apple's lead, Google has announced its own digital car key feature that will allow the user to wirelessly unlock the car and even start it. The user will be able to hand over control to a friend as well. Google is leveraging ultra-wideband technology and NFC just like Apple for this technology. Google has also partnered with BMW for the same, something which is a follow-up to Apple's announcement from 11 months ago. It will be first rolled out for its own Pixel phones and Samsung's Galaxy line of smartphones. Google also unveiled a new feature called Bluetooth Fast Pair and Display Cluster Projection, which is focused more towards Android Auto. If you're seated, if Bluetooth is active on the phone, it will prompt to automatically pair, and using a single tap, Android saves the wireless connection with the car. It looks as fast as an AirPod syncing with an iPhone. Google's new Assistant Driving mode allows the user to get things done like messaging and making calls while driving without leaving Google Maps, all through speech. It has been launched in the US and will be launching soon in other markets. Android Automotive is Google's operating system for the car. It is deeply embedded in the car instead of being beamed from the phone like Android Auto. This means core Google features like Maps and Assistant are embedded inside the car on a system level. Google has now partnered with GM, Renault, Nissan and Ford in addition to its existing partnerships with Volvo and Polestar. The new GM Hummer EV will be based on Google's new car operating system.
It's a simple, go anywhere, comfortable touring machine. And the updates to the new Himalayan seem to have been done keeping in mind comfort, practicality, and owner's feedback, and to give the bike fresh appeal.
Meet the all-new 2021 Royal Enfield Himalayan. It gets new colors, a few cosmetic changes, and it now gets the Tripper navigation pod. What has changed? Let's take a closer look.
The updates may not be apparent at first glance, and they are centered around adding better ergonomics and comfort. There are new color options as well, like the unique pine green shade of our test bike. But the new colors cost more. And now it gets turn-by-turn navigation courtesy the Tripper navigation system. But there are no mechanical changes and the dimensions remain the same. The Himalayan still gets 220mm of ground clearance with long travel suspension, although it's still a heavy-ish bike with 199 kilograms curb weight.
So this one is a last generation Himalayan, the 2020 model BS6, and this one is a 2021 model. If you look at it from afar, not many changes, but of course the new colors, the existing colors remain, but the new colors make it stand out. There are minor changes, like the rear luggage rack has been lowered, so when you swing a leg over it, it's easier to mount the new Himalayan. The seat cushion has been changed for more comfort on longer rides, and these, the luggage racks, you can carry 2 saddlebags here or jerrycans if you wish. The design has been changed. The earlier one on that model used to be like this, so for taller riders it used to be a problem because the knees will scrape on that luggage rack. So the design has been changed. Apart from that, the Tripper app of course makes an entry on the new Himalayan, and the windshield design has been changed. It's wider to accommodate the Tripper pod and it's slightly taller with a tinted finish. And of course what's new is also the headlight ring, which is now finished in matte black compared to that chrome finish on the old one.
The most significant change is the new Tripper navigation system, which adds a new circular dial. Powered by Google Maps, it can be connected to the Royal Enfield app, and the turn-by-turn navigation directions are easy to use. With the new dual density foam, the seat has better comfort for long rides on the highway. Performance remains the same because there aren't any mechanical changes. 100 km per hour is where the Himalayan is happiest and will cruise all day long. But chasing very high speeds is not Himalayan's forte. It's more the relaxed, easy tourer for the unhurried traveler. And when the tarmac ends, the Himalayan will decimate bad roads and trails without a care in the world.
So the new Royal Enfield Himalayan cost about just over 2 lakh rupees ex-showroom. It's a little bit more expensive than the last generation model, yes, but now it gets the Tripper app, which will come in handy if you're into touring and exploring new places to navigate your way through it. Engine, the BS6 engine remains the same. It'll give you a performance of about 125 km top speed. Maybe with a lighter rider, it'll go up to 130 km, but you can cruise at 100 km per hour all day long. As long as you're not chasing very high speeds and you want to tour, you want to explore, this one still offers a very good option for your two-wheel adventures. And the more you ride it, the more it begins to grow on you.
The Himalayan definitely is a good bike and still has its weakness. More power, less weight and better brakes perhaps could have certainly made it even more desirable. But eventually, it still charms you with its simple character, whether you're the urban commuter, highway cruiser, or adventurer. And that charm is the Himalayan's biggest strength.